so we can do a one-to-one coaching. But then it's like trying to have the balance of not taking away from the challenge.
Yeah.
And being able to charge at a higher price point and separate it. So we was getting through all of that. So then we've just separated it a little bit now. So there was a little bit of a break in between.
Because you must reach capacity every time, right?
Yeah, it's quieting down a little bit, to be fair. We hit about between 2 and 250 on the challenge. So, and then like anything above that's like hard to manage. But then it's like, we have like everyone from the 6 weeks, other people just do back-to-back challenges. And then it's like, there's only so much you can do if we wanted to scale it. So it was like, we needed to do the one-to-one coaching, but then our one-to-one coaching package were pretty much like the same thing.
Yeah.
So it was just trying to figure all that out. So now like there's clear like distinction between it. So like with the one-to-one, it's like video check-ins, we do weekly calls. It's just more one-on-one time.
And you've got
charge more for it.
Check, yeah. Can you hear? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Has this all been captured so far? Okay.
Shit.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. No, thank you. The worst part for me is the intro.
Yeah. Yeah, I could tell from the remains one, I was thinking you didn't know like really how to get
I was
going.
like, I don't know.
Yeah, you did good though, man. It seemed like natural.
Yeah, like to me, this will be used.
Yeah,
this part will be used.
I think that's better though, because that's what I try to do with all our videos. I hate like white guys, even though that's what we have to do.
Right guys.
Yeah.
See that part now? Right guys.
Right, so right guys, I say it every single time. So I feel like this works better, and then you just get into it and it's more natural.
Yeah. So for those that are watching, this is now the second episode of the Raisingboys to Men meets. I'm not calling it a podcast. I'm calling it a place where we hold space for people to share their stories and journey in the hope of empowering you along yours. And if you see anyone in this seat, please know that I have a genuine desire to get to know them better. And this man is definitely one of those. I've been following him for many years and seen the growth from running the most successful transformation challenge in the UK to entering into dog kennels.
Yeah.
To renovations.
Yeah. Just go
so the list is endless, but welcome to the show, Scottswench.
Thank you, bro.
Bro.
Glad to be here, man.
On the day that we said we was going to do it.
Yeah. So obviously I was eager, wasn't I? So I got here 2 weeks early, but yeah.
So yeah, we scheduled this a couple of weeks back and I said, bro, the 17th. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm down. And then 2 weeks ago, I get a call saying, I'm outside. I'm outside. The panic in my heart, bro. Because I was like, no. In my head, I was thinking maybe I could get down there somehow. Because But there was no way.
Yeah, no. That's why I didn't even ask for it. Yeah, I don't know what. To this day, I can't explain it. I was just eager.
Baby brain. You said,
yeah. Baby brain will blame it on that. But the week before was when we actually confirmed it. So I think I've just thought in my head Wednesday, and then locked it. I got to move my trim to the Tuesday. Mrs. got the day off work. Got the lads to cover my sessions at the gym, and yeah. But we're here
now, bro. So many people know you for obviously the fitness stuff, and that you've done incredible in that space. But I always like to get to know the person behind that. So I like to kind of start at the beginning, right? How was Scott as a child? What did that look like? Your upbringing, mum, dad, brothers, sisters?
I had a good upbringing, man. I was mum and dad were together, did split up when I was about 8, 9. So, but I was mentioned to you on the voice, and then like I've never really sort of had any memories of like drama or whatnot, or mum and dad or this and that. So like growing up was good. I've got an older brother, an older sister, a younger brother as well. But yeah, man, I had a good upbringing. Mum and dad were both there.
Was that in Birmingham?
Yeah, that was in Birmingham, born and raised. Yeah, so...
Are your parents both from there as well?
Yeah, mum and dad both from Birmingham. My dad's originally from Jamaica. Came here when he was like 17.
Okay.
And then, met my mum. And to be fair, my older brother, older sister, they've got a different mum, but we all grew up together. So that was like neither here or there. And then I've got a younger brother from the same mum and dad. So we all sort of grew up in the same household.
So you're the oldest from your two parents?
Yeah, no, I'm like the middle child, so older brother, sister.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, sorry, I'm the oldest from my two parents. Yeah.
Okay, so dad had a child.
Yeah.
Another child?
2, 2.
And then met your mum?
Yeah, and then had me and my little brother.
Okay, so in terms of that dynamic, how did that work? Was it blended? Was it?
Yeah, definitely. For me, it was. So obviously, my younger brother's about 8 years younger than me. So um, when I was growing up, my mum and dad were together, and I was still around my older brother and older sister. To this day, my dad's always made sure we've all been together, regardless of my brother's mum and their family. I'd always be there for sort of Christmas and weekends and whatnot. So I'd always be at their house with their mum, and they'd always be at my house with my mum. So I had I don't remember having any kind of sort of issue with being here or there. Like, I had my older brother, my older sister, I had my mum and dad. I would be with my brother's mum at their house and everything was fine. I think my younger brother, he probably experienced more of the separation of it because he didn't grow up with my dad in the house, whereas I did.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but yeah, as far as that, like, even though we were separate households from my older brother and sister, we was close. I see my brother every day now. Like,
See, I'd love that. Like, I've got 3 half sisters, but my dad, there was no bringing us together at all. So I always knew who they were.
yeah,
But everything you described is how I think it should be.
yeah. But you know, I've never thought about it. It's only you and your content that actually made me think, because I think, right, my mum and dad split up when I think I was like 8 or 9. I was young, but I remember them splitting up, but I don't remember any drama of it. And I always remember having my older brother there and whatnot. So now in hindsight, it makes me actually respect like how they managed it all, because I know there was issues in the relationship as well. So, but I don't have any sort of recollection of that.
You never felt that energy?
Not at all, no.
So talk to me about that. You said when you was 8. Yeah, they split up.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that?
Not much. I remember, I have the memory of them splitting up, as in just like they weren't together no more, but I don't have any memory of like something happening or whatnot. I remember my dad leaving
the house.
Yeah, but then he just had his flat and I would just be going to dad's flat. And yeah, it's a weird one. I don't know whether I've shut that out or they just did a great job of co-parenting and managing it. I think that because I don't have any trauma of them breaking up. I'm not like, I've always grown up like my mum and dad are not apart. It's never been a thing to me. It's just almost been the norm.
I think that's a beautiful thing, because I think it shows that your parents probably put you first as the children. To just say, you know what, whatever we're going through, let's not let them
definitely
feel it.
It makes me appreciate it a lot more, because like I said, it's not something I've ever thought about. Just because it's just been normal to me. But now in hindsight, I'm thinking about it. So like on Christmas, like I'll be at my brother's mum's house with my dad's new wife and then my other siblings, and like we're all just there together, and like even trying to explain it is mad. Do you know what I mean? It's weird. So yeah, now it gives me a lot of sort of admiration for how they managed it, because like I said, I know that I don't know the ins and outs, but I know it wasn't on good terms. And there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that I don't know about. So yeah, they both did a good job of not letting that filter through to me.
Did your mum move on after your dad?
She did, briefly, not for a while. Maybe when I was about 14, 15. She had a partner for a while. And that was sort of on and off. And then she's with someone now, but obviously this is like 20 years down the line. So yeah, she didn't move on completely until like now in like my adult life. What type of
man was your dad? Like when you look at your dad, how would you describe him?
My dad's just like, well, he's so funny now because he's like such a different person now to how he was before. When I was younger, like he was just big, strong, stoic. Like doesn't take anything off no one. Like he was a superhero type of figure. Do you know what I mean? It's just dad, like, you know, like he never had to this day, he's never had to tell me off. He's never had to raise his hand or shout at me, but like, it's that time in it. I don't say nothing. I still tell little lies and that if I haven't done nothing, or if my MOT's run out and stuff like that, because he's into his cars. But yeah, my dad was just like
so
strong.
He had a presence.
Yeah, definitely massive presence. But now he's like a granddad. He's like the complete opposite. So it's mad to see. I mean, obviously he still has his presence, but he's like his granddad now. He's much more not soft, but do you know what I mean? He's just very chill, very laid back.
Was he someone you looked at as, I want to be like him?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, he was just like your man of the house. Like, yeah, man. My dad, he was the man at the time. He used to always have sick cars, a load of gold chains and that. He was just big. He was strong. Yeah, he was just he was the guy, man.
See, I love that. Because I'm always thinking, how are my children looking at me? Like, am I someone that they want to be like? Or but I often feel like I'm out of touch.
Yeah.
Like my kids are looking at me like, oh dad, you're so past it.
I
But
feel like it doesn't matter where it will always be that way, won't it? Because it's
yeah.
just like different generations. But yeah, yeah, no, I always looked up to my dad. To be fair, yeah.
And you said like you would go to his on the
Yeah.
weekends, or do you feel that your brothers as well had the same relationship with your dad, or do you feel?
I feel like we've all got different relationships. So I feel like my older brother, obviously, I think, like, so me and my dad like hug, and like even just that element, we'll hug when we see each other and whatnot. Whereas my older brother and that didn't, and not because of out of not having the love or anything, but I think it was very much like, because he's a bit older than me, like he's probably just been raised that little bit harder. And then obviously as generations gone, everything's a bit softer and softer. So and then my younger brother, him and my dad had a few issues and whatnot, but I think that was more, like I said, because my dad was only in our house for a couple of years before he moved out. And then my brother didn't have that upbringing, so my little brother, sorry, hasn't got the relationship that I've got with my older siblings, or with my dad at this point now, anyway. So,
what's the relationship like with you and your brother?
My younger brother, we don't speak at all now. As a whole another one, yeah, we don't speak. More so from his part.
Yeah,
He's a complicated guy. I don't even know enough to speak on where he's at in terms of his thought process and whatnot. He doesn't speak to a lot of our family anymore, so I haven't actually seen him in years now.
I think it's interesting that you say that the relationship with your dad was probably different from him than it was to the rest of you.
Yeah.
And to now know that he's also kind of distanced himself. I'm not saying it's connected, but I just think sometimes like you can feel like, not maybe like the black sheep.
I feel like it is that, it may be a little bit of that. Because like I said, he didn't have, even though my dad moved out when I was younger, I still had that upbringing with him in the house, do you know what I mean? So now in hindsight, thinking of it, I do feel like he didn't have that. So then even because when we would be going to his on the weekends and whatnot, it'd be me and my little brother. But as we got older, I don't know whether he just didn't have that same sort of connection or felt away. I feel like that may be a bit of it. I feel like there's some sort of animosity towards me. I don't know, because I don't know. I've got my own thoughts about it, you know what I mean? And I don't want to assume things and that, but I feel like I do well with things, and I don't know if he perceives me as like being like the one that got stuff better.
Do you think in general, have you ever noticed that, just to divert a bit, but to me, you're very successful. You're a very successful man, and that hasn't just come overnight.
Yeah.
And a lot of people could probably look at it and be like, oh, he's got it easy. Have you noticed a change to the way people are with you as you've kind of elevated?
In what sense? Like,
just like you mentioned that you're not saying that your brother per se is because of your success, but sometimes I think people can look at you as you're the one that's changed, when really it's them that's changed towards you.
Yeah. Not so much, to be honest, because I think I've always been me. I've always kept it like I like to think I'm very humble. Like it's always been that. So regardless of my successes, like I've always had a level head. So I haven't really experienced that as much. I feel like the only sort of space where I have little sort of feelings of that is just like probably like financially and stuff like that. You know, like I feel like some people think I'm like a bit posh now when I'm doing this. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously I'm come from like working class family and whatnot. Yeah. So now it's like, obviously with the house and like when I bought my watch and stuff like that, it's not stuff that we've like really had in our family. So I don't know whether that's just me thinking like, but I do get that sort of energy from, or I have done previously from people.
So when you was growing up, would you say financially, like you wasn't the most comfortable as a family? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we was working class, definitely. We wasn't poor. Like my mum and dad both worked.
Yeah.
So I never went without anything. Do you know what I mean? But we was definitely sort of, I feel like I didn't have the aspirations and whatnot of stuff that I have now, because we was just at that sort of working class level. And like my sort of vision of success was like my mum eventually being able to pay off a mortgage or stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So no, we had an upbringing. I wasn't poor at all, but it was just sort of working class, yeah.
Because what I've wondered sometimes is, as people become more successful, depending on where you've come from, some people come from a place of lack where they haven't had much.
Yeah.
So success can scare them.
Yeah.
Like for me, I feel sometimes even if more money came in, I'd be almost like I need to hold on to it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm like.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, 100%. So like me, like anytime I spend anything, I'll be on my banking and this and that. And like I'm very like frugal. But then like obviously now as I've acquired more money and been able to be in a better financial situation, I definitely sort of like I'm not as much as I was before, but I definitely still have that same mindset as when I was broke and didn't have
Yeah.
anything. So, yeah.
I feel like it's maybe because in my head as well, like I'm still so close to where that was.
Yeah.
So like I feel like I'm maybe one wrong step away from going back to it.
That is the truth of it, though, isn't
Yeah.
it? I think same like me and my missus speak about it all the time. So like her family like are pretty well off. So we always speak just about the dynamic, and it's like even though we're here now, I think I couldn't have never imagined of having this house and having this and X, Y, and Z. But like I'm also thinking like I remember where I was in my overdraft at £800 and I'd get paid and I'd have £200 in my bank and I'd work downwards and that would be it. And like if it doesn't work out for me at this point, I'm back there. So I still have that sort of mindset. Maybe that's what keeps me like grafting as hard as I do.
I remember when money would go into your account at midnight and I'd go to the cash machine at midnight just to like let me withdraw it. Like there was some rough times. But I think people can also look and see followers. They see, okay, you've got X amount of followers, that must mean you're making money.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's so far.
Like I hear mad rumors. People think I'm worth way more than I am. Like barbershop stories and that. Like my barber will tell you, he tells me stuff all the time. Of like people just assuming this and thinking this, or I've made this much and that, and it's like yeah, I haven't got a clue. But yeah, it's just perception, isn't it?
In terms of it in Birmingham, how well known are you? Because to me, for us to know you in London and other areas, is it one of them things walking down the street, you're...
You know what, pretty much I'd say, yeah, the one thing that is still mad for me, like anywhere I go, to be fair, not like crazy like people, I'll always have someone that's like, yo, Swench, or wherever it is, like different countries here. But I'm like, in terms of like the fitness space and whatnot, yeah, everyone knows me, and yeah, I'd say I'm quite sort of known.
Does that ever put pressure on you to be a certain way? So for example, if I go out, especially if I'm with the kids, I'm always thinking someone could be watching. Someone could be watching. I can't shout at my kids in public, or so I'm almost like on high alert as well.
Yeah, a little bit. I do feel like sometimes I have to be like, you have to not put on an act, because it's not an act, but I have to be, because you know what it is, like, you know, my personality, I'm actually like very quiet, I'm quite shy, whereas like most people don't know that if they don't know me. And it's not that I'm putting on an act, but in my space now I'm comfortable. I can be like on stage, I can talk, I can do all of that stuff. So I think like it forces me to do that.
We're the same, bro.
Yeah, in reality, I'm like the complete opposite. Like my missus, she'll always laugh, because even like, you know, out in a restaurant, I won't like ask people or anything, or just you know, little things, because I'm just really shy with things. But or like social events and whatnot, yeah, it's mad. But then because of the same again, it's down to perception. Is everyone sees like the Instagram, social media, this and that, through
their phone is what they believe is real.
Yeah, exactly. And it is to a certain extent, because I've got to the point where I'm confident in my space. So if I'm with my coaching, with my fitness, with my clients, or whatever it may be, that I can be that sort of outgoing, confident person.
Going back, I want to go back, because you mentioned your dad was this big guy, gold chains and all that. Did that have any influence into you getting into like training or anything like that?
I don't know, you know, I think it was more my brother than anything, because like even though my dad was like, I don't have he trained and whatnot, but I don't have a recollection of him like being like the gym guy. You know what I mean? He was just a big guy, whereas my brother was the first one. Yeah. He went to the army young, and then he come back and he was mad in the gym. He competed before me and whatnot. So I'd say in terms of like training and that side of things, my brother was probably definitely the bigger inspiration on that side of things.
So like a role model type.
Yeah. And in general, to be fair, he's like same as my dad, like very he's just like very stoic, can always rely on him. He'll always think of me and put you first, and like you don't have to question anything about him. He's just that guy. So he's someone that I look up to, definitely.
So in terms of fatherhood, that title, from watching your dad, what would you perceive like fatherhood to be?
I don't know, you know. I don't know.
Because you mentioned there stoic, and I guess you could rely on him
Yeah.
and certain things. I guess, is there anything you look at from your dad and you're like, that's what I want to be for my child?
Yeah, I think just that complete safe space. Like I know I can go to my dad with anything, not just from a stoic like protection side of things, but I can tell him about anything. I'm not gonna get judged for anything. I can speak to him about anything, and like I can't say like how he's sort of gone about it, but I know that he's always got my best interest. Whether if I haven't spoken to him for a month or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So I'd say probably that just being there enough to know I know that he's got me no matter what.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? So I'd say
That safety net almost.
yeah.
What were the different roles, like mum, dad, as a child? What would you have certain conversations with your mum that you wouldn't with your dad?
Yeah, I did definitely. So mum, it sounds like it's all dad. Like mum
Yeah.
is like I'd say I'll speak to mum about anything, and it's funny because I need to make sure I word it properly because my mum will hear all this and she's like, "Oh, your dad, I was the one doing all this and that," and she was. Don't get me
big
wrong.
up
So,
Mumsy.
yeah, 100%. So mum's done it, always has, and has done everything for me. I think that sort of admiration I have for my dad just comes from he probably wouldn't have even had to do as much, because he was just that figure. So like in terms of like day to day, hands on, like everything, I was like, yeah, my mum's there to this day. So it was like, yeah, I would say maybe from my mum's perspective, I think she would say she's done 90% of the work, and that might be the case. But yeah, I don't know. They both got me. So
You both had different
yeah,
roles.
yeah. I'd say yeah. More mum was like day to day, everything else, and then yeah, I don't know. It's a mad one thinking about it.
If you had done wrong, if you was out
Yeah.
misbehaving, and would it be I wouldn't want my mum to know or my dad to know?
My dad, like mum would be disciplined. Mum would be disciplined. Like
Yeah.
mum would be the one that yeah, I'm getting my ass kicked. Like that would be her. So and then obviously as I got older, you get more rebellious, and then like I wasn't scared of getting in trouble with my mum and stuff like. And we did have a mad little rough patch. I forget about it. Like these days, we had a little rough patch where like we actually didn't speak, and I moved out and all sorts. But yeah, mum would be the one that sort of disciplines me and was like more hands-on, but then dad would be the one that like no matter what, I don't want to get in trouble with dad. And like I said, to this day, like he's never shouted at me, he's never raised his hand to me like anything. But even at this age now, I'll be wary to like say, "Oh, dad, this has happened, or I've done this," and that was always the way. So yeah, I think dad was like at the top of the hierarchy in terms of like discipline, and I didn't want to get in trouble with. But mum was the one like hands-on, sort of doing everything. And if I was in trouble, yeah, it'd be mum who'd do.
So as you're in, I'm picturing it. I'm gonna move on from there, but I'm picturing it. You're 8. Your dad's moved out. You got a younger brother. In terms of you now growing into a young man in that household, do you feel there was more responsibility on you because you're potentially now the man of this house, right?
Yeah. No, I don't.
felt
No. Like even with my mum, she's like, my mum's like a boss in herself. Like she doesn't need anyone or anything. Like she gets everything done. So like, not that I don't think she played the father role, but I didn't have to do any of that. Mum was like, she was very hard woman herself at the time. Same again, as she's got older, she's a lot softer now.
Yeah.
But like, you don't mess with my mum. The women are like, I've raised by a lot of strong women. At the same time, my mum, my auntie, my nan was like the head of the family on my mum's side. So yeah, even with dad going, I don't, like I said, I'll put it just down to how they've sort of managed it. I don't remember having any sort of feeling of having to, right, I've got to look after things now. My dad was still always there.
It allowed you to just be a child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything we needed, my dad was there. He'd come on the weekend and get us. If I needed something, I'd give him a call. Mum had everything covered as well. So yeah, I didn't have any sort of feelings of, right, I've got to step up now.
I think that's beautiful. I was listening to a previous podcast you done, and you touched on, going left now, but you touched on kind of not being quite body conscious.
Yeah.
As like a young teen or early teen.
Yeah, like late teens, really.
Yeah, and you mentioned like body dysmorphia, right?
Yeah.
How did that? I guess for me, when I look at you, and I guess others would as well, this guy that's got an amazing physique, gets on stage, shows his body off. How could he ever have body dysmorphia? Do you feel like you still have elements of that now?
Yeah, 100%. I'm getting like better now because I'm out of the competing bodybuilding space and bodybuilding space in general. But yeah, definitely you'd be surprised. Like most like bodybuilders or even people that are just like at that level in terms of physique, they've all got body dysmorphia. It's a mad game to be in. It's like, and even you'll know yourself. Think about the best shape that you've been in. You set that bar then, so then it's like anything less than that, you don't feel your best. When in reality, like look when when you start a challenge, like you compared to most people, you've been sick shape.
Yeah.
But in your head, it's like I
look
off.
rough.
Yeah, but it's not at all. So that just keeps happening. So I think when you take it to the extreme of like British champion level bodybuilder, like in my head now, if I go on holiday, I want to look like that. That's what I need to be at. So like anything less than that, you get those sort of that sort of that dysmorphia and like I know though, but I think it's not too bad for me because I'm very self-aware. So although I feel like that and I feel conscious and stuff, and like at a certain point, like I won't have my top off or wear certain things and whatnot. Like I also know that it is just like in my head. I know that like that's not the case, so I can balance it out.
How do you feel that affects us as men, right? Because I was thinking about this the other day. I'm 39 now, so as I'm getting older, things are naturally gonna start to change, right?
Yeah.
So, like, how do you feel having something like that, accepting that, you know what, I'm gonna get grey hairs, my body is changing. How do you come to terms with that? Is there stuff you like? Do you think about stuff like that? Is that
Yeah, because my grades are going mad right now. So yeah, it is. But same way, I think I'm just maturing, understanding that right. You know, all those sort of insecurities and whatnot, they're literally in your head. Like no one else is thinking that, and it's like it's mad because your sort of concept of it is worrying about what people think or how you look and whatnot.
Yeah.
When in reality, no one does. I think I get past a lot of that now from Roxy because she's a massive like support, and now I'm at a point where if she thinks I look good, that's all that matters.
that was the segue I wanted to go in. I wanted to go in. Okay, so we're in our teens with body dysmorphia or that mindset. We're starting to train and whatnot. How does that now impact relationships?
Yeah.
Do you take that with you? Is that something are you comfortable with your body within the relationship, but maybe not outside?
Yeah, definitely. Like in my relationship, I'm comfortable. I like completely comfortable with it, and Roxy makes me feel comfortable. Like she's always complimentary, and like she's super affectionate and whatnot, just as a person anyway. So when I'm there saying like I'll be in the mirror every morning like this or whatever I'll be saying, and then she's like, no, you look good and whatnot, and she's always been like that. So at this point now, that's what makes me it not sort of bother me because I'm not trying to impress no one else. Do you know what I mean? I know that like I'm happy with how I look and whatnot, and then she gives me that confidence as well. Prior to that, I would say it was definitely a big thing, and also for me, it was like because I'm Scottswench and I was always in shape and whatnot. It's like that was almost part of my identity. Like I'm the guy that's in shape. So you know, when I've gone that transition from like quitting bodybuilding, competing to like downsizing to where I'm at now. Like I'm thinking, I'm small now, and obviously I'm around my peers who are bodybuilders who I always used to be the guy. Now they're all bigger than me or further ahead and whatnot. So like when we're speaking, I'm thinking they're still speaking to me as if I'm that guy, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm not that anymore. But it's so like that whole process as well. It sort of made me have that switch and think, right, it's not my identity. It's just like what I used to do. Do you know what I mean?
I love how you mentioned Roxy there because what I see on social, again, it's on social media, but it's lovely to see, and I feel like it's a man that's showing off his woman. And being Scottswench, right, and getting into a relationship, because I've always thought this, announcing I'm with someone brings attention to that person.
Yeah.
When you first got with Roxy, how was that experience, and was you careful in how you kind of revealed that?
No, to be fair,
No,
not really. We had a little period of time before we sort of put stuff out there, but everything moved so fast with us. Like we literally met in October, and then we were living with each other by the February, March. I can't remember.
Had you known her before?
Only like vaguely, just through Instagram. She used to own like a fitness brand, so I'd done some like some promo work and whatnot for her. So and then we met through a mutual friend. So I knew her to speak to on socials, but that's about it. But yeah, no, we was, I think at that point like there, she understood where I was and what comes with that in terms of the social media side of things. She's was also quite present on social media herself and had her own little thing. So it wasn't too, we was both sort of in the same space and understands, right, when we post something, it's going to be this and this is probably what we'll get. We was also very like clear with where we were both coming from and, you know, what we wanted. So there was nothing anyone could pop up with and say and comments, anything that we either hadn't already spoke about or what we wouldn't know is just rubbish. So we wasn't really worried about the social media side of things.
Would you say, because I know that just through, again, social media, you was in a relationship before.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing a female that was involved in videos. But then whatever happened there happened. But would you say that going through that relationship prepared you better for?
100%, yeah. 100%. Like my last relationship, and more so how it ended and whatnot, and my sort of behaviors, that's like fully shaped me into like where I'm at now and the value I hold in our relationship and how I carry myself and how I want to be. So yeah, that's what we would say. That's what I always say. We moved so quick just because I knew exactly where I was, who I was, what I wanted to do, and a lot of that came from the process of my last relationship.
Did you intentionally take time after that last relationship to kind of?
Yeah, I mean, I say that. Yeah, it was only like, what was it, about 6 months before we met. But it wasn't like I wasn't looking for anything. Neither was Roxy. She was long out of a long relationship as well. Well, no, so she had a long relationship and then she'd been single for quite a few years, so she wasn't looking for that at all. But yeah, the way my last relationship ended, like that was a rough time, and that process there really made me sort of have to look into myself and sort myself out and just have that internal dialogue, like what am I doing and what do I want to be doing and whatnot.
What made you do that? Because I feel there's men that are in relationships and they might do wrong, but they never have that moment of accountability.
Yeah.
What made you say, you know what, this is a me thing?
You know what, it was just the way I felt. So I've been open about it. And, with my last relationship, I was unfaithful, and we broke up because of that. And yeah, it just made me hate myself. Like only because I think I just got caught. The time I was with my ex was the time we sort of building, and I became Scottswench, and I would get all the, because prior to that, like I wasn't really out there like that. I didn't really get no attention. Like I said, I'm never that confident. I didn't used to get girls or anything like that. So then I've gone through that sort of growth while I was with my ex, and got carried away with it. Not got to my head in the sense of how I carried myself, but I got a lot more attention, and I was out and I was partying and I was doing all this stuff. And anyway, yeah, long story short, I ended up cheating in that relationship, and the way I felt after was just like nothing I'd experienced before. Like I was, and it's weird. It's like I've been quite open about it, but it's hard for me to navigate because I don't want to play the victim at all, because it's all completely like, it was all on me. There was like, my ex was like you know, even with my past relationships, like I can't ever put any fault on. I've only had like 2 previous relationships and they're both like really good girls, and that was the thing. Like she didn't deserve that at all, and we was together for 5 years. I'd known like a lot about her and whatnot. So that happening, and then me start not realizing what I was doing at the moment, and then us breaking up and realizing, right, that's actually it. This is done. It just sent me in a hole, and I was like mad guilt, not just for like, obviously doing it, but just on doing it on her. Do you know what I mean? There was no
knowing you've hurt someone.
That was it. It was just seeing how hurt she was, seeing like people will know if you've actually broke someone who's a good, clean-hearted person, and like I broke her completely. So, and it just really hit me hard, and that's what sort of made me have that sort of introspectiveness and just say, what am I doing? Do you know what I mean? What am I doing myself? And then from that's been like, that's one of the biggest things that I feel guilty. I still hold that guilt today.
Did that guilt impact you when you met Roxy? And what I mean by that is in the sense of, because I've been there, I've come out of relationships, and it might not have even been my fault, but I'm like, okay, I'm moving on now, but I'm like, what if she finds out? Is it gonna...
You know, my sort of way to deal with it, and the lads thought I was crazy at the time, was that period, if I was speaking to people, I would just be like super honest with everything. Like if I was speaking to someone, even if it was like, I've just met them or whatnot, I was honest straight. I never lied about it. I said, this is what I did. Like, and that was sort of my way of going about it, because like, I know that I'm not that person.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I know that I hold relationships. I know that I hold people in a lot higher regard than that, and obviously I did that, and you know, I can't. Obviously, I did that, but I know that it's out of my character. So my sort of way of dealing with it was just being completely honest with it. So I told Rox from the start what had happened and how my last relationship ended and whatnot, because I was also super confident that like I know exactly where I'm going and I'm not on anything like that. So
how did she receive that?
Good, to be fair. I think the same again. Like she could tell that I'm just genuine with it, and like I said, it wasn't. I was just very clear with it. I was like, this is exactly what happened. This is how I feel about it, and like, I think it was received like genuinely. So
I think you're being transparent there.
Yeah, 100%.
Which I think is going to be respected.
Yeah,
rather
than. I mean, the lads thought I was crazy. Like, you shouldn't be saying that stuff. And I'm like, no, like I know what I'm on now, and like that's a massive part of it. And for me, like because I went through that and did that, that's what gives me that complete clarity now, knowing that it's so far away from anything that I'd be able to do. So that's my strength going into this relationship.
I always find like I'm having therapy when I'm having these conversations because I'm learning from you, right? And you mentioned that you met her in October and by February you was living together.
Yeah.
What made you so sure with this person that this is right?
It just felt right from us two being together, and then also just from obviously like me, like I felt the growth, even though it was only 6 months. I felt like the change in myself. I felt that self-awareness, and I felt like, right, I know what I'm on and what I'm doing. And so that combined with them meeting her, not looking for that, she wasn't looking for that. And like I said, I'm not a outgoing person like that. Like it would, when I broke up with my ex, I always said to myself, I genuinely said, like, I'm never going to be with no one again, because like to get to the point of knowing someone that we did, like, is difficult for me, because I can't hold a conversation with someone new, especially not a girl. Like I've never chatted up a girl or anything. Like I'm not that guy. So I think knowing exactly where I'm at, and going through that process and just being very sort of genuine to myself, and then also just the time that we spent together, and being able to sort of build that relationship up in that amount of time. So like if I knew then this is something, because I wouldn't be able to even get past this point with you. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. I always said from the start, like I was just very clear, like I knew that I wanted to be with her.
Was it, as a man, was you someone that was like, I want a family, I want a wife, I want this, I want that? Or was you just kind of seeing how things go?
No, I think at that point I was beforehand. Like I've always had in my head, I want to have a family and whatnot, but it was never a clear vision. This is what I want.
So it wasn't necessarily a big family or whatever.
Nah, I didn't really think about it at all. I remember speaking about children with my ex, and now like thinking about it, there was never any clear conversation or me thinking, yeah, this is what I want. Whereas when me and Rox got together, like by that point, I know what I want. A family, I want a wife, I want X, Y, and Z. So same again, and she was in the same space of just knowing exactly what she wants. So it just cut out any of that sort of, the beginning of a relationship where you're trying to figure each other out and playing games. Like there was just none of that, because we were both just super transparent. This is what we're on, this is what we want, and I think that's why it moved so quick.
Because how long after you was together did you get engaged?
A year, just over a year.
What I'm interested in is, when did you know I want to propose?
To be fair, we'd already spoke about obviously our plans and wanting to get married and have kids and whatnot. So at that point, we'd just gone through. So when we met in October, we moved in like February, and then we went into lockdown, because that was 2020. That was. So obviously we had the whole of lockdown together, which was like very testing, but that let us know by the end of that, right, this is us. Do you know what I mean? Because we went straight in at the deep end with that, and then. Yeah, it wasn't even planned, the proposal, to be honest. We knew that we wanted to get married, and eventually down the line, and then we ended up booking a last minute holiday, went to the Maldives for that that year, and then we were just like, right, if there's any place I'm going to propose, it's got to be here, right?
Okay.
So then literally did it there. I proposed with one of her rings in Maldives and that, and then when we got back, we got her a proper ring. So it wasn't actually planned. We just knew that
it just felt right.
Yeah, and it was like, right, we're in this moment now, we're in this space. We've just had like this year that we've had together. We went through a lot through lockdown as well, just from like obviously it was very testing through lockdown. So we sort of were very confident with where we're at, and then I thought, right, we're here in the Maldives, like it's got to be done. So
I think what I like about a lot of what you said is you go by feeling. Like with you, I feel like you know when something feels right or when it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I say to Roxy all the time. From like, it's funny because she was the one that was initially chasing me. I say chasing me just because, same again, she would message me and I'd air her DMs and stuff at times just because I didn't have the conversation, bro. I didn't have the conversation to hold it. So we'd speak up until the point of like meeting up, and then I'd like air the message and that. But luckily she was persistent. So then we got to that point of actually seeing each other, and then that was where it was like the other way around, where I was just like very clear, like this is what I want, and like I'm serious and about her, and yeah, it just went from there.
And you mentioned there that you haven't mentioned on here, but you're close to being a father now, right?
Literally,
like any moment now.
Phone's there, could be any moment now. She literally said to me yesterday, "What happens if I go into labour and you're there and your phone's off, and then you have to drive back?" I was like, "It's not gonna happen in that 4 hours." But yeah, she's 37 weeks today.
How's this whole? Because I know the process hasn't been smooth.
Yeah.
Right? Talk to me about the.
Yeah, so we've been trying for like 3 years now. Initially we didn't know there was an issue, but then long story short, I had fertility issues, and I had azoospermia, which is basically complete shutdown. So there's like, you're not producing any sperm at all.
Okay.
And that was down to like steroid use from bodybuilding. So we was trying for like a year before I got the diagnosis, but I was on prep for that year, for most of that year. So in our heads, we was always going to get prep out of the way, because even before you even go into like the drug side of things, just from your body standpoint and from how harsh your prep is, and the dieting phase and being that low in body fat, it can have like a negative impact on your fertility. So it was like, let's get this out of the way, and then I'll get tested at the end if we haven't caught. Got the end of that season, and then got some tests done and whatnot, and then had that diagnosis.
How did that, when that diagnosis comes back, what's going through your head?
You know, I went in it expecting like I didn't expect it to be the best. Like, it's something that comes with bodybuilding. Yeah. I competed at a high level. Unfortunately, it's part of the sport. So I'm not naive. Like, you know the risks that come with it. So I expected there to be some damage and there to be a process of sort of, fixing it and whatnot. But I didn't expect it to be like complete shutdown. So like, you generally can have like low test, low sperm count and whatnot. And there are things that can be fixed through diet, supplementation before you have to do any actual intervention. But like I said, I had azoospermia, which is like completely no sperm in the semen. So it was embarrassing more than anything. I think initially I felt very embarrassed. I felt sort of emasculated. Like I took it like quite harsh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was just like, yeah, obviously it's emasculated, or it feels emasculating. I mean, like I'm supposed to be able to have children, do you know what I mean? And I can't. So
how was that conversation with Roxy?
I mean, it was fine in terms of conversation. Like we was very much in it together. Yeah. There was a period where I like internalized it a lot, and I was like, I didn't sort of think, woe is me and whatnot. But after like us going through it a little bit and us having conversations, that's how I was sort of projecting it. I felt like, this is happening to me. When in reality, you know, obviously it's my issue, but it's both of us. It's both of our fertility journey. So I did have like a small stage where I was sort of projecting that, which wasn't helping.
Was you vocal with your circle, your friend circle, or was you quiet?
Yeah, no, I was yeah. So my friendship circle's like really good. Like there's with any kind of personal stuff, we're always pretty open with stuff. So yeah, I was open with them about it all. But to be honest, it was just a case of, right, how do we move forward with it? So I had the diagnosis, and that was through a fertility clinic in Birmingham. And they had mapped out sort of the fertility protocol, which was just like some hormone treatment and whatnot. And then it was just a case of doing that and monitoring it. So that took like 10, 11 months to do that whole process. And then eventually I started seeing I was recovered basically.
So it's reversible. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you have complete shutdown, it's either genetic or it's down to hormones and whatnot. So mine was down to hormones. So it can be reversible. Sometimes it can't. It's like luck of the draw, really. So I went through that hormone treatment, which was like 22 weeks of like 3 different compounds, HCG, HMG and Clomid, two injectables, 1 tablet, and that was for like 5 months basically. And that sort of turns everything back on basically. But then you've still got to go from that point then to your sperm quality and your total sperm count building up as well. So that probably took like another 6 months. And then from that point we was like, we got to the January the following, we got a year down the line, and I was technically fertile, recovered, but we still weren't conceiving. So then we were diagnosed with unexplained infertility, because Rox had all the tests as well. And she had a slightly low egg count, but nothing to worry about. So things like we went through all of that. And then after that first year, we just couldn't conceive, and it was just unexplained. So we started going down the IVF route. And then...
And how would you say this is bringing you, going through something like that with your partner, would you say it's bringing you closer together, or is it kind of causing tension?
With us, it kept us, not kept us together. We just dealt with it together. It was, we dealt, after, like I said, I had that first little bit where I probably wasn't handling it the best way. That was just because it was, as I said, I felt embarrassed by it. But once we got past that, we dealt with everything together. So it was never obviously there were times where we struggled, because anyone will know with your fertility journey, especially when we got to the point where we were on paper fine, you know, we might be a couple of days late for a period, and then obviously we get hopes up, and then a period comes, and it's like, it's not just that, it's like the whole emotions of it, and that's like every month.
For both of you,
So like that's draining in itself. And then, you know, obviously we're at the age everyone else is getting pregnant around us as well, and I'm seeing someone pop up on my Instagram and they're pregnant, and I'm thinking I'm on my way home, and I'm thinking I know Roxy is gonna see that person as well, you know, just that sort of dynamic of it. So it was definitely tough, and it was definitely something we had to work through, but we did it together, and we was always like confident that we would do whatever we needed to. So I mean, the whole process was long. It like cost us the best part of like 10 grand in terms of the hormone treatment. And then, like I said, we was going down the IVF route. We managed to get funding for that, but then obviously eventually we did. And
IVF still doesn't guarantee, does it?
Nah,
because I've had a friend that's gone down that path. It's
not at all. So it's like it made me sort of just have real empathy for people going through that process, because like I said, we went through 3 years of sort of trying to conceive, a year of fixing fertility, another year of going through the process. And the process of IVF, you know, there's a lot of back and forth. You have to get all your testing done. Obviously NHS, if you're doing it through the NHS, it's even longer. And then from then you get, obviously it's like 10 grand a round if you're doing it privately. If you're doing it through the NHS, you get some sort of funding, but it might just be one round. And if that doesn't work, you have to pay for it again. And it's such a long-winded process. And like, I think that was one thing that just kept us sort of strong as well, because we would speak to a lot of people in similar situations who might be on their like third, fourth round of IVF, you know, 50 grand in and still not conceiving. And it's like, we're just like scratching the surface of it. So I think it made us like grateful of where we're at, and just sort of focus on doing what we needed to do.
I want to stay on that, but I just want to talk about like the communication between you and Roxy. How is that? Like, do you feel like she's more of the talker, like getting stuff out of you? Or?
Nah, it's the other way around. It's a battle we've had in our relationship, to be fair. Like, we've got great communication and like in every single aspect. If we're maybe having a rough patch or we're having an argument, that's where things tend to break down a little bit, because anything like emotional, Rox will go very inwards and can't sort of get her feelings, emotions out other than like through like being emotional, whereas I'm like, I can lay everything out, I can articulate everything, and but I speak to the point where it's like I'm just bombarding her. So it's like we have sort of struggles there at times, but that's like only when we're like having an argument or something's going on. Outside of that, like we're so like I said, I think the same trend just followed from the start of the relationship. We've always been transparent, we've always communicated as best as possible. We had a little rough patch for our first year because Rox is diagnosed with depression, but we had like a year of not knowing that, so that was like a bit rocky. But yeah, at this point now, like we're on the same wavelength with everything, so it makes sort of issues that we've had or things that we've been through not easy, but like we just get through it together and work together.
Having been through everything you've been through in relationships, like you mentioned, what do you appreciate the most about this one?
Just everything. I think like Rox does everything for me, not on a physical sort of point, but as everything else, like she says she supports me in literally everything. She's she's just, I mean, we're just like as one, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like every single thing we do is us. It's us together. She's got my back with everything, vice versa. She's super thoughtful, really like caring, funny, like every single, we're best friends. We're best friends as well as obviously partners in that sense. So
because I always look at successful men and I often see a woman behind them in some capacity
Yeah.
playing a role. Do you feel having her by your side has actually allowed, because like we mentioned, kennels,
Yeah.
like Renault, all of that. Do you feel having a partner that you know has got you
Yeah.
has helped you?
100%, because it's not even just on the support, like she's hands-on, like everything that I've done she's doing as well. It's not a case of she's just there supporting me, like the renovation, like we're doing it together.
Yeah.
Like when the dogs, the kennels, like she probably does more of that than I do. Like when I was doing my last show, we had 3 litters of puppies, 21 dogs in the house. Yeah, that was like crazy. Looking back, that was crazy. I was like knee deep in prep, like 20 weeks in, and she just handled everything. So yeah, 100%. I wouldn't have been able to do. I mean, I don't like to say I wouldn't have been able to do stuff that I have done without her, but like we're a unit. So any part, even if you just see me doing one thing, like here, for example, when we come that last week, she was here. She's here with me. We're talking about. We're watching the podcast on the way down, like thinking about how it's gonna go and whatnot. So yeah, she's
united front.
Yeah, 100% with everything, and vice versa. You know, she's got a lot going on with work, with business. You know, she's had previous businesses that we've worked on together. Obviously, our plans in terms of just life. So we're both very much like it's a unit. It's not a case of one in front of the other or anything like that.
I love that. So now you're going through that IVF process and you actually find out.
Yeah. The mad thing is so we was going through the IVF appointments and they were taking so long. Like you have to go and apply first, and then you go back and forth. We had to go through. We did all the testing private initially, but you have to go through it with the NHS because we was trying to get funding. So that back and forth is like 6-7 months just waiting for appointments and whatnot. And then eventually I always remember we had the appointment, our last appointment on the Thursday, which was just accepting our funding for the IVF. Then it would have still been another, God knows, however many months. And on the Sunday, we did the test because she was like 10 days late, and then we were pregnant.
Wait, so you didn't have to go through IVF?
Oh yeah, no, so we didn't. Yeah, we conceived naturally in the end.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, and you know, we always said it because obviously this was the time we was doing the renovation. So it was like, you know what, let's just focus on this. We're gonna do the house, move in, settle, stress levels come down, and we'll probably just catch. And then we literally, it was like less than 2 months after moving into the house after we finished the renovation, a couple of days after the IVF got funded, that we conceived, or that we'd found out we conceived.
How did you feel?
Yeah, it was like a weighted lift. Well, I say that, it was like, obviously it was like relieved.
Yeah.
Like it felt like a weighted lifted, but at the same time, it just felt like, no, of course we've conceived, like this is what we've been doing. Do you know what I mean? Like we've worked towards it. I never had any doubt that we would at any point, whether that would have been through IVF or whatnot. So for me, it was like I knew this. Yeah, I knew this was gonna happen.
Along this journey now, how do you view your role, like as father, what kind of role are you? Because obviously you've had an upbringing. You've got, like, your dad's been there but moved out.
Yeah,
you've got brothers and everything you mentioned.
Yeah.
Now starting the journey of your own, what does that look like to you?
Like I think now, like especially seeing Rox and her family, and like as much as my family's always been strong, as in my mum's side, dad's side, like we've always been a strong family. Like it's not so much family orientated now. So I've always valued that.
Yeah.
But I think now, I think there's a combination of everything. I want to be like my dad. I want to be that head of the house, that stoic figure everyone knows they can rely on, protect, or provide, all of like your typical masculine stuff. But at the same time, I want to be, I just envision us having a big family, me being the head of the house, me playing with the kids and being a fun dad as well, but also the guy that everyone can come to. Do you know what I mean? I want to just be that old school head of the household that has just got everything sorted. That's my sort of the way I want to be.
How does someone in your position, right, everything we mentioned that you're doing, balance relationship, business, now parenthood?
Yeah.
What is it? How do you balance that to ensure that you're ticking all of these boxes?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, and even now, like that's one of our, and I'd say, we've spoke about it. One of our concerns, like going into parenthood now. Not that like I won't be able to do that, but like there's literally only so many hours in a day, and obviously with, with our coaching business, with us just opening the gym as well, things are like hectic at the moment. I could work from the moment I get up to the moment I go to sleep. Like there's all, you know yourself,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
always something you can be doing. So it's tough to balance it out. Once again, Rox helps me massively. She manages the dogs in the house and helps me like, on my side of things. But I think it's just us having the understanding and communicating. You know, we've had sort of issues before where she doesn't feel like she's getting enough from me in terms of affection, in terms of not time, more just like the time that we do have.
Quality of it.
Yeah, and that's something that we've had a little back and forth, because in my head it's like, right, I'm grafting my ass off, like I'm trying to.
You see the bigger picture.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and she does as well. Don't get me wrong, and that's her thing was never like, it's not the time, like she understands.
Yeah.
So it's like that 5 minutes we do have, I need to do more, and I'm like, you know, I do, but it's like in that moment, like, you know, it's like I'm just dead. My brain's dead. I've been speaking to people all day. I've been doing what I'm doing. Like I'm worrying about this. I'm stressing about that. I got a kid on the way and whatnot. So yeah, I think I get wrapped up in that sometimes, and like I end up just like fried. Like I'll get home sometimes and I've just got nothing left in the tank. But and that sort of, she needs more than that. So that's something that we've sort of been dealing with like recently.
Do you have steps, like you see some people, they wake up at 4 or they do this or they do that? Do you have certain things where you're like, all right, no phones after this time? Or
Try to, but it's so hard, especially with the coaching, because it's like it's 24/7. So like I try to put the phone down at like 9 o'clock, and then we'll have the rest of the evening together. We do a Sunday, like a Sunday is our day where like that's just us, and we have that time.
Okay.
And then obviously because we are both flexible, like as much as I'm busy, I can take an hour here, or I can arrange my day to do whatever. So we prioritize time. We prioritize our Sundays, definitely. But we're also just sort of seeing the bigger picture of things. Like it's not always going to be as hectic as it is now. The what we was talking about before, you know, just putting the structure into our businesses and whatnot. The whole point of that is so there is an exit plan for me, not to exit completely, but so I can delegate some
Breathing
work and I
space.
can step out and whatnot. So even though things are crazy now, like we're working towards that. And obviously, like I said, I've got a supportive team. I've got Troy. I've got my business partners who whenever we have stuff going on, we take the load and whatnot. So we balance it out. It's definitely a team effort from, like I said, Troy, his partner, Roxy. Like we balance that out to make sure we can have some sort of work-life balance. But it is hard, yeah. It's hard to manage.
I wanted to touch on the Detroit element, because that to me, you two are like brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know you met in the gym.
Yeah.
From, because originally Shy was.
Yeah, Shy. It's me and Shy initially.
And I speak to him like through message now
Yeah.
and again. But how important is like that brotherhood in terms of you two having a business together? You've obviously got to make sure that your friendship isn't impacted as well.
To be honest, that's why we've done so well, because it's like we've always just been on, and we're completely different with how we sort of handle things as well, but it like balances out perfectly. So like I'm very much more reserved and skeptical and a bit sort of harder to go ahead with things, where Troy's the opposite. If he's got an idea, it's like, right, let's do this, let's do that. So then we end up sort of meeting in the middle, and then it works really well. But we both sort of understand there's not any sort of, well, I've done this and you've done this, or I've worked more here and that. Like we both know what we're working towards. So it's like same, like I mentioned with Rox, that sort of work together as a unit. That's how we've always been, and it's been one of the only sort of friend relationships that, because you see often, you know, they say like friends and business don't mix.
Yeah.
And that is the case 90% of the time, but we've never had that issue. We're just on the same page with what we need to be doing. And like there'll be things that I feel like I'm not really keen on doing this, I don't want to do that, but I'll just go with it because I trust in what Troy wants to do. And vice versa. There'll be times where I'm very like skeptical and will hold back on something, or say, right, I don't think we should do this, or whatever it is, and he'll respect that as well. So yeah, it's like an unspoken understanding we've got, so it just works, and that's how we've always just gone about things.
No, I love that. I just want to throw some random questions at you. What's one of the biggest lessons you've learned along your bodybuilding journey about you personally?
I think just that, like, I can do anything, which is like for me, it's a tricky one, because, you know, like trying to dissect myself. Like I said, I'm not confident with things, but then I am at the same time. And I think like breaking myself down and sort of dissecting it, I get my confidence from putting myself out there and doing things that are hard. And then I've always achieved, like there's nothing that I haven't done. there's nothing that I've done that I haven't succeeded at. So I think that bodybuilding sort of set the foundation for that, because I did it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I put the work in. I did everything that I needed to be doing night and day, and I feel like it's a great foundation to work from. So I think it's just let me know, gave me the confidence in how hard I can work and what I can achieve if I just do it. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's probably the biggest thing I've taken from the whole bodybuilding side of things.
I love that. As someone that trains myself, I think mentioning the body dysmorphia and stuff like that, like there's times, because I was skinny as a teen.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm still that teen.
Yeah.
So no matter how much size I put on, I'm always like, no,
Yeah.
And I think it's going back to, again, coming from nothing as well. When you feel like you're so close to how things used to be, whether it's how you used to look or what you used to come up with, it kind of gives you this fear of like, no, I need to keep going. And it can become obsessive.
Yeah, definitely.
So for someone that now has come away from bodybuilding, and I don't want to touch on bodybuilding too much, but in terms of your mental, how have you processed that? Like, okay, you know what? I'm only going to train 3 days a week now. How's that been?
I think just goals are different, isn't it now? Now, like, I'm looking more towards longevity. Like at that point in my life, I just wanted to be the best bodybuilder there is, and like it's consumes everything. But yeah, and that was it. Whereas now it's like, right, I'm going to be a dad. I've got a family. We want to do the X, Y, and Z. I've got the gym. I've got my clients that naturally my client base has shifted more towards everyday people as well. So I don't need to be in that bodybuilding space anymore. So I think, yeah, it's just like the goals change. So with that, you know, I've shifted as well. So it's initially it was hard to sort of get out of that mind frame.
Because you thought you was that.
Yeah. Like literally that was me through and through. So yeah, I think it's probably a bit of that understanding, right, that doesn't define me. That's just like a part. So now I look back and think, yeah, I look sick and that was that and I won this and won that, but that's it. I don't hold too much value on it. Do you know what I mean? I just keep pushing forward. So, and then I've also realized that I think that was just one sort of part of it. Like I've always challenged myself, like whether that's the Thai boxing or MMA, I've always competed in something, and that's just my thing, is just competing in something and having challenges and setting out to do them. So even though I'm not competing at anything now, I still have challenges set out, whether that's business, whether that's life, whether that's like personally with myself. So I think that's what keeps me on track with
I think as men as well, like they say a man without purpose is easily distracted by pleasure.
Yeah.
And I think having like, you've got purpose there, you know what, whether it's the business, parenting or whatever. Yeah. And I think myself as well, having this platform, it gives me that drive. Otherwise I just float. End up floating.
Yeah, you need some, and as most people are missing, most people don't have something that they're working towards. Like I see with our clients all the time, it's like a lot of people, and it's no knock on anyone, a lot of people aren't doing anything. Like they're going to work, they're doing what they need to do, but you know, in the sense of that own sort of progression in yourself, or having something that you're working towards, or having some kind of challenging aspect to your life that you're trying to achieve, like a lot of people don't have that. So then it does put you in that space where it's like, right, what are you doing? You know, if you ask a lot of people now, like, what are you doing with yourself?
Yeah.
A lot of people wouldn't be able to answer that other than like,
wake up,
go along. Yeah, exactly. So I think, I think now retrospectively, I think it's setting those challenges and putting myself out there and having those things to work towards in whatever space that is, that's what keeps you moving forward.
Another thing I want to throw at you is, because this is a genuine desire to get to know you, was there a defining moment along this journey, not bodybuilding, but in terms of business, where you kind of looked and said, I'm doing well here?
You know, it's like peaks and troughs. Like I think me and Troy speak about it all the time. We'll have times where we'll be like, right, we've done this, or we've turned this over, or we've whatever it is, and we'll have times where it's that, and then over time it's just like I'm just in the grind, so I don't really see it as much. And I think because I'm not scared that it's just gonna go wrong, but like with the challenge, for example, we've done the challenge for 8 years now.
8 years.
But yeah, so 2016 was the first challenge, but whenever we open entry for the new challenge, I'm thinking, we're not gonna get people sign up for this one.
That's still in your mindset?
Yeah, 100%. Like I have bad, like not imposter syndrome, but almost that sort of element. I feel like, right, yeah, I don't know. So every challenge we open, right, we're not gonna get enough people on this one, or I'm not scared of it, but I have that sort of worry. So
is that heavy? Because what I mean by that is, for example, I done a live show recently, and sold out, which was beautiful. And then someone was like, you should do another one. And in my head, I was like, I know the stress that comes along with doing that.
Yeah.
So it's put me off from doing it. You just mentioned there, every time we do a challenge, in my head, I'm like, they sell out.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there's no questions
Yeah.
about it. But for you to feel that, does that ever make you think, you know what, I don't even want to do that?
No, it doesn't make me think I don't want to do it at all. Like, same again, it's just like I'm working towards it. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I think that's, if anything, what keeps me sharp, because I'm not just like, right, yeah, I've made it. Do you know what I mean? I don't ever feel that, or maybe I just haven't got successful enough yet. I don't ever feel to the point where I'm like, I'm confident with where we're at. So that's what keeps me working hard. So I think it's probably a strength when I sort of think about it. But yeah, I don't know what the reason is. Like that, like I've have the experience, the history, the social proof. Like, everything I'm doing at the moment is working, and like, you should have confidence in that. And I do, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I don't know. I always have that. Same with like opening the gym and whatnot. I think that's the reason. I think I'm naturally just scared of things, but I'm not scared of doing them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So then that's just my process of going through it. Or even like with the fight or anything like that, like the amount of times I was going to pull out of that just because I'm just like going like around in circles in my head, yeah. But like I know I always get it done and I always push through. So I think that's just my cycle with anything, whether it's like a sport, whether it's business and whatnot.
I think that's powerful though, because like you said, so many will feel that and say, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Like, you know what, let me just, but you're saying, no, I feel that and I kind of welcome it.
Yeah. And I don't know what part of me says, yeah, let's do it then. Because like I get nervous about everything. I'm like, I don't have the mindset of, right, I'm going to just go and smash this, like, and don't have any worries on that. I have the nerves, I have the worry, I have all of that. But like I said, I think it's just because I've built up that list of things that I have done and pushed without, and I've pushed through it and I've achieved it. So
You got the track record.
I take the confidence from that, but I don't have that just naturally from it at the same time as well. It's a weird sort of dynamic.
So for you now, what does, because I feel like you mentioned that you're doing this, and you've come from not potentially nothing, but lesser to have so much more. When's enough? For a man like you, when do you actually say, you know what, I'm good now.
Yeah.
Let's park up.
It's funny you should say that, because I have that battle with myself now at the moment. Like, I feel like I'm at a weird stage in my life where I don't want to be front and center. I'm happy to pull back and chill and whatnot. But then I'm also in that space where the businesses and where I'm at, like I can't be. I have to be front and center. I have to be pushing it. So yeah, I go through like ups and downs, to be honest. Like, at times I think I'd rather just be like, Roxy about this. I'm like, I'd rather just be off grid, like completely out of everything, and just being a dad and being a family man and being at home. Like, I have that, but then I still have the drive to keep pushing. So I don't know is the answer. I don't know. I think I'm definitely shifting more to, I'm not worrying as much now about sort of how much I need to make or sort of material things or being this successful and whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm really now more focused on sort of just quality of life, peace of mind, my family being happy, me being happy. Do you know what I mean?
Would you say you are happy?
Yeah.
You looked hesitant.
Yeah, no, just because it's you, man. You're making me question everything. Honestly, the last few weeks, I'm thinking about what's going to ask me now, and then I'm questioning myself. I'm having my own little podcast in the car.
Because I think like people say it to me all the time, like, you're doing so well, and in my head I'm like, I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see what they see. I've always said happiness to me is quite a peaceful state.
Yeah.
It's not like laughing and joking. It's like, if I think about me being happy, I'm at peace.
Yeah.
So when I asked you that, it was kind of like, do you feel peaceful? Do you feel happy? Or do you feel like, no, there's so much more I still need to...
Yeah, I feel like I've still got loads more to do. I feel like I'm not at a point where I can just be content with things. But it's hard because that's purely from a sort of business, financial, that side of things. In terms of life, like, I'm very grateful. Like, I can't not be happy. I've got everything that I've worked towards.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I've got a baby, I've got a house, I've got my dogs, I've got the flexibility of life. I do what I want when I want. Do you know what I mean? So I'm very grateful for that. So I'm happy in that space. But then equally, there's so much more that needs to be done, I feel, for me to secure everything in that space at the same time. So it's like a battle of both, really.
But if I spoke to you at 18 or 25 and said, you'd have everything you've got now, and I said, I could give you this, would you have taken
Oh
it?
yeah, 100%. I've surpassed like any sort of like thoughts that I had before. Like I was always a good kid, and I always like I had like not goals, but I was never like a bum. Do you know what I mean? I was always
Yeah,
doing something, but I'd never had any like I don't remember having aspirations like financially or in my head it's like all right, obviously hopefully I'll be able to get a mortgage one day and then pay off my house and then like have a decent job. I used to like I spent before I did any of this like I spent 9 years like just working in an office admin like with no sort of progression, and I never had that sort of aspiration for more and more. So everything that I'm doing now is like miles like apart from what I thought at that time.
yeah.
So yeah, like I said, now I've come further and done way more and had way more than I ever would have imagined. So I think same again. That's why I'm happy with what I've done. But that just the goalpost move, doesn't it? As you progress, like the goalpost move as it does with everything.
I love that. And last question from me: what are you most grateful for?
Um, what am I most grateful for?
It's a deep one.
Yeah, I know. I know. um,
Because there's a lot.
yeah, I don't think where I would go with it. What am I most grateful for? I don't know. I think maybe just like opportunity. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like I feel like whether we're talking about from like the people around me, my family, like I feel like I've had a lot of opportunity, and that's allowed me to sort of be where I'm at with everything. So like even like with Rox, like I've had what I had in my last relationship, and then that process has gave me the opportunity to be all in on this and be where we're at now. Like same with like business, family, etc. So yeah, I don't know if that really makes much sense, but I'm grateful to have had all the opportunities that I've had, and that's allowed me to sort of
I think what I've gained from this conversation, you reflect a lot. I can
yeah,
tell you, and I like that because you'll go through an experience, whether it's good or bad, and you'll reflect on it and be like, you know what, maybe I need to change this, or this is where I went wrong. And like I said, not many people
yeah.
do that. Have you always had that mindset?
Nah, not at all. I think I've always been level-headed. I've always been calm. I've always been a thinker and whatnot. But um, it was since that breakup that I had that sort of complete self-awareness, because that made me like question my character and what I'm doing and whatnot. And then that's just sort of crossed over into everything. Um,
Relationships will do that.
yeah, definitely. You know what it is? Like I said, I've been raised by like strong women. My mum, my auntie, like my nan, like so like strong women. So then when I did that and I was going through that process, it was like proper. Like I felt shameful. Like it proper got to me, and then it was mad because like right, I'm not the victim here. Like it's mad that I'm feeling this way.
Yeah.
And like that whole process was proper rough. So like that was probably my turning point where it was like I actually be very sort of self-aware and self-reflect, and I think that's all anyone can do. Do you know what I mean? If you can do that, you're always gonna progress. And I think like because of that, I've had the opportunities to keep like to
Keep
move on to
growing.
things. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
Bro, I'm going to end it there. Guys, thank you. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like, comment, and all of that. Just let people know where they can find you if they don't know already.
Yeah, so Swench, search Swench on anything and it will pop up. But
Facts.
before we go, bro, just thank you for having me on as well. Like I said, I've seen the come up, and even from my name to be, and you know, when you posted the list of who you wanted on the
Yeah,
podcast, even for my name to be on there with the other people and whatnot, like it means a lot. And everything that we're speaking about in terms of the come up, in terms of the growth and whatnot, like you're doing tenfold. So
bro.
big ratings, bro.
Bro, I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you 100%. We're out. Bro,
Is that, bro?
thank you, man.